You know, Joe Biden has sent a message out to the so-called Black Americans very loud and clear. And it's sad that most Black Americans don't hear the message that Joe Biden is sending out to them. They're not really seeing the message that Joe Biden is demonstrating to them. When Joe Biden is on the election trail, he will tell you that he hears you. He knows your struggle. And then he'll make a lot of empty promises to you. And then you vote to get him in office. And the minute he get in office, he now signed protection laws for Asians, for gays, for illegal immigrants, for anyone else but the so-called Black Americans. Now, I find it interesting that when it comes to reparations, I'm always hearing, well, how are you going to be able to tell who descended from slaves? And then you hear people say, I had nothing to do with it. You weren't enslaved. But they have no problems identifying Black people when the police is gunning them down. They don't have no problems identifying who you are because you are a people without a home. You're a wandering Jew, and they are full aware of the fact that you are a wandering Jew. Now, Joe Biden had just given Africa $50 million in reparations. Why is Joe Biden paying Africa reparations? But yet they're telling the so-called Black Americans that they really don't know how to identify you as a descendant of slavery. They have a problem with that, but they don't have a problem with paying Africa reparations for what? Exactly what are they paying $50 million to Africa for? Now, again, Joe Biden is sending a message very loud and clear. Another thing, too, is when it comes to reparation, they say that they can't identify you, or how can they tell who were descendants of slaves when we all have Social Security numbers? You can track that just by your Social Security number. Or they can track it if they want to. See, Joe Biden have no problem paying Africa $50 million. And Africa never made the effort to try to come and secure or rescue the so-called Black Americans. Africa has never offered the so-called Black Americans anything. But yet we're hearing so many Africans now saying to come home, you need to come with us. And I'm going to let you listen to this video. Now, when it comes to reparations, Black Americans have to be careful. See, because right now they got these reparation committees, and they never had to have a committee. They never had to sit down and talk or discuss money or why you have these illegal immigrants receiving reparations. They never sat down and discussed the so-called Jews getting reparations. They never sat down and discussed the so-called gays and lesbians, the LGBTQ community getting reparations. He never even sat down with Africa to discuss reparations or the money that's going to Ukraine. When the last time did they ever had to get up a committee to send money over to the Ukraine, but yet to pay the so-called Black Americans monies that's owed to them? Now you have to sit down. We have to sit down and talk about it. We have to get some committees to sit down and talk about that, right? And see, what's going to happen is you're going to get excited because they're going to have these committees. They're going to have you on television making fools of yourself. And I'll be doing another video, because who are these people that they appointed? They didn't take time out to screen these people, and neither one of them are on one accord. Everybody has their demands. What's making it look like a joke? But nobody was screened. They didn't screen any of these people. They just gave them a voice to speak, and now they're making fools of themselves in California, right? But I'm going to play this video. I want you to listen to what this president of Ghana, I believe, is saying regarding the so-called Black Americans. This is all political, because once they have these committees and they sit down and discuss it, you're going to get excited, and then election time is going to come around, and you're going to think to yourself like, well, let me go vote Democrat so we can get our reparations because they promised it to us. And then once you go out there and vote, once you vote and give them what they want, they forget about the reparations. So show me the money first. The so-called Black Americans should have the mindset, show me the money first. First give me the money, and then I'll talk about going to the polls supporting you. But time out for empty promises. Time out for empty promises. Show me the money first. That's the mindset that Black Americans should have. Show me the money first. Once I receive that check, then we can talk about voting you back into office. But listen what the president of Ghana had to say.
A successful Africa, on the image and standing of Africans in the diaspora, applies with equal force to the image and standing of her sons and daughters who go by the name African Americans, and indeed to all her kith and kin in the Americas and the Caribbean. There's a lot of room for your perspectives and energies back in Africa.
Oh, really? So now we're kith and kin, but yet none of the so-called Black Americans can even identify with where they're from in Africa. Yeah, they may take these little tests, you know, to find out where they're from, and, you know, the DNA test, but that's not connecting you with your family. See, Black Americans, the ones that were taken from the continent, they've lost connections with Africa. They have no idea who their ancestors are in Africa. See, it's more than just building a country, because you hear so many Black Americans, oh, we built this nation, we did this, we built this, our labor, we need to be compensated for our labor, and we built this. But what about all the emotional, psychological, and physical damage that was done? Now, if they're able to go back in time and sue Bill Cosby, arrest Bill Cosby and R. Kelly for rape, why can't they do that for the so-called Black Americans that were treated much harshly by their ancestors? See, but they can do that with R. Kelly. No other white person received the treatment that Bill Cosby and R. Kelly received. But yet, it's easy for them to go back and do that to us, but yet when it comes to reparation, well, who's to say? You know, you weren't enslaved. You know, how do you know that you were connected with slavery? Well, it's simple. They don't know who they are. They don't know where they came from. They don't know their language. They can't speak their original language. The so-called Black Americans are lost. That's why they made it such a big deal behind Kanye West, and he's paying for that. When Kanye West put it out there of who the so-called Black Americans are. See, that's the whole just behind this thing. See? So it's interesting now that this president now wants to get up and acknowledge those that call themselves African American and telling you to come home. Why? Because They want you now to become a slave to Africa. Build Africa like you built America and built other places around the globe. So if you built up other nations, now we can use your skills, we can use your talents, we can use your body, your strength to come and build Africa like you built other nations. In other words, they want slaves. But yet Africa didn't offer the so-called black Americans anything. Didn't offer no land, didn't offer a free place to stay. Here's your home. This is the home for you and your family. Didn't offer no check, no money, no natural resources, gold, diamonds, whatever. I mean, because look at the continent of Africa. It's like that's like the Mecca of the world. And you have nothing to offer the so-called black Americans, no reparations from Africa, but yet Africa is receiving reparations from Biden, and the so-called black Americans are still sitting at the feet of Biden with their hands out. But you're going to have black Americans falling for that. And you're going to go to the polls. Don't vote.
History tells us of the positive impact of diaspora communities on the growth and development of countries through increased trade activities, rising investments, and the transfer of skills and knowledge.
See, they want to transfer your skills and knowledge to Africa. They want to benefit from you, but yet Africa is offering you nothing. What did this president stand up and say that he's going to give the so-called black Americans in exchange? What? Give you a passport? Give you the right to say that you're a citizen? Is that your reparations? And Biden, that $50 million that's given to Africa, Biden might even use that as an excuse to say, well, we paid reparations. But yet you didn't pay reparations to the people that rightly deserve it. The people that's suffering, that's on the bottom in America. So what do you guys think about this? Feedback, tell me what you think. Till next time. I'm fearless.